by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. As you finally made it to the hump day, it's going to be a wide open Wednesday here today, where we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to get into some Razorback talk, of course, as you see the title, and also talk about this UNLV story with the quarterback, which is a wild scene. Get into some what's more likely, and of course, take your phone calls, because I have bear witnesses here with Curtis and Andrew that the phone lines were working when we started. So let's hope that they stay that way this time around. It's 478-344-6623. If you want to jump in on the phone lines, you can also get in on the chat. But fellas, how we feeling at the midway point of the week?
I feel great, honestly, man. I listened to the player interviews last night, and I got to say, I absolutely love the vibes coming from the team right now. That's good. It's the first day of basketball practice. That's good. I'm past the days personally of payments not being made out that were agreed upon. So that's awesome too. I mean, there's just, it's an all around good day, you know?
Yeah, it is a good day. I always love when there's like a story that everyone starts talking about, and everyone has been talking about this UNLV quarterback situation. And so I look forward to hearing you guys' thoughts on it, because we really haven't talked about it. But yeah, it's a beautiful Wednesday. And I will say this, throughout the week, I've been noticing I just undersold how many players on Arkansas's current roster are from the DFW area.
No kidding.
Like the more every time I look at the roster, there's like 4 more names where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he's from there too. Oh yeah, I guess he's from there too. And I thought it was kind of funny that the 2 guys on the injury report that we're looking forward to seeing tonight, they're also from that area. And so it's just like a lot of Dallas implications as the Hogs prepare to head there.
I will say real quick, so we can go ahead and get this out of the way. I don't know if either one of you guys listened to Sam Pittman on the teleconference today. It was a nothing burger from start to finish.
Correct.
There's nothing there. So we have no updates from that thing, really.
So I was going to ask, because I did not listen to it, but so did anyone ask him about the Hugh Freeze comments?
Nope.
They asked about the Barry Odom comments.
Yeah,
they asked the Barry Odom stuff more than they did the Hugh Freeze.
And I guess that was actually kind of interesting. So maybe I undersold it a little bit, but that was, we can get into that when we start talking about it.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just more pissed. Like, again, I can't say anything, but it's just like, no one asked about the Hugh Freeze comments. Come on now. Anyways, don't need to get all riled up here on it. It's a Wednesday. It's happy times now because Arkansas came off a win. And, one of the things that one of the people we got to hear from last night in one of the press conferences, of course, Taylen Green, one of those players that's from the state of Texas and from that area, that, he's been the starting quarterback for Arkansas. They're sitting at 3-1. We know what this game means and all of that thing. But I started thinking about Taylen Green and just his performance so far, which I think we all can agree unanimously that it's not been amazing, but it hadn't been horrible. It's just kind of, there's really good things, but there's some not so good things that he's going to be working on. And I also put that into correlation with this A&M game, because every single year it ends up being chaos, madness, ridiculousness. We all know it. It's probably going to be a close game. Let's just be honest. So if it comes down to that, Arkansas has the ball in their hands, down by 4, 3.5 minutes to go in the game. They got to drive 75 yards down the field. I'm going to ask you guys this, and of course open it up to the audience. Do you trust Taylen Green right now to make the game-winning plays when the game is on the line? Do you trust him right now?
Yeah, I do, because those seem to be the moments where he really thrives. Honestly, it's the in-betweens, and it's the it's like teams are really good moving the ball between the 20s. Some teams are really good at just moving the ball when it doesn't matter and then not cashing in when it does. It just seems like for all the inconsistencies, when it's really, as Kamani Johnson would say, nut dropping time, he stepped up, man. It's like we thought he got benched the other day, and then he comes in, he leads Arkansas on 3 straight scoring drives. It was a possession that was left for dead, and he scrambles and breaks free and chucks it 65 yards in the air for a touchdown pass. It's 3rd and forever, and you're thinking, oh man, this is not great. They're losing momentum. They're gonna have to punt, and he gets loose and scrambles for 19 yards and picks up a first down randomly. Those are all the things that he does. And in terms of the turnovers that he's made, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you never want those, but I don't know that any of them come in like super, massive moments in a game so far, knock on wood.
Yeah, the interception before half against Auburn was the closest thing to that, just because it was a big moment in the game. But like to your point, it wasn't during crunch time. It wasn't when they were trying to put a drive together late to close out a game or take the lead or anything like that. And I even think back to the Oklahoma State game where Arkansas obviously came up short in that game. And I guess you could argue he didn't make quite enough plays, but he finished with 500 yards of offense. And even when Arkansas let go of their lead, he comes back and responds with a big, one of his best drives of the day, ends up throwing a touchdown to Lucas to get Arkansas back on top, let him down to get him in position for a field goal. I felt like in that game, he made a ton of plays. And so that was when we first got our sense of what it's like to have this quarterback in those moments. And I thought he showed up well in that game. Obviously, that was like his best performance of the year. But then, of course, you touch on the Auburn game. When the game was on the line, when it was time to make those plays, he made it. And I just think of 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, whatever it is, it seems like he just has a knack for finding a way to make something happen. And of course, he's not without his flaws, without his inconsistencies. But big picture, though, in the big moments, I do trust him. And also, like I said, I just use the term knack, but I feel like he is one of those guys who just has a good feel for when it's time to make a big play. And he finds a way to pull the rabbit out of the hat every now and then, which is kind of what you want to have at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and it's funny because I went back and I looked, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but can you think of the quarterback that at Arkansas that had the most game-winning drives / plays in their career with the Razorbacks?
You know what's crazy? It might be Brandon Allen, weirdly enough, because his senior year, it felt like down the stretch, every single game they were in was a one-possession game, and he made a ton. But I know he missed a bunch early in his career because there was like a narrative with him where it's like, he didn't have the clutch gene. Austin Allen, I got to be honest, was pretty clutch. He had some big moments there, but I have no idea. I mean, do you have like an actual answer for this?
Well, at least according to my rigorous research, it's Matt Jones. Matt Jones is the guy. And of course, he was like the starting quarterback for 3.5 years, so there's obviously more opportunities for that. But you remember those overtime games, of course, in the clutch situations that he was in there. The reason I bring that up is because Arkansas, they've had some guys that can move with their legs and all of that. But to me, there is nothing more dangerous and also getting into the psyche of a defense than when the game's on the line and you got to dig your heels in and keep them from going there. But you have a quarterback that can just destroy you with his legs. And that to me is why I trust Taylen Green, because it's demoralizing whenever you're doing good things against the pass. You have great pass protection or pass defense. You're locking down the receivers, the tight end, or you're stopping the run because you're calling it good as far as when they're going to be running the ball. But then you do all those things. And even if you put a quarterback spy on them and you still lose out on big downs, first downs, whatever it is, because of the legs. To me, that is why I trust him, because if he's got the ball in his hands, he's gonna be making some decisions there to beat you with his legs, which is going to just completely make the defense go crazy. So again, I'm not saying that I trust him to just go down there and throw precision passes 100% down the field, but there's just something about having a quarterback with that element to their game that really can open up a lot of different chances and opportunities to go down the field. Because I feel like the times it's also happened to Arkansas when they've given up those big drives have been the quarterbacks like that can beat you with both his arm and his legs.
Yeah, and I know that we're going to talk about Mike Elko and Texas A&M in a minute, but I wrote a story yesterday just about some of his comments in his press conference on Monday where he was talking about Taylen Green and just game planning for him and why it's so complicated, because he was just mentioning how when you have a guy who's such a big play threat and then a legitimate dual threat like that, that it just changes the level of focus you have to have as a defense, because there are times, like whether you want to admit it or not, that you can get a little bit comfortable against certain types of quarterbacks, or there comes a certain point in a play where maybe I can take the foot off the gas a little bit, but you just can't do that. You can't lose focus ever with Taylen Green, or even, like we mentioned with those crazy 3rd and long conversions. Like there are times where you feel really good about where you're at defensively, and you might make a certain call on a 3rd and long that you just wouldn't do with Taylen Green back there. Like just that dynamic, it changes the way that opposing coordinators have to defend Arkansas. And that's what makes him such a tough out. Even, despite the inconsistencies throwing the football, it's that constant pressure he puts on a defense because of the threat that he is.
Yeah, it is always funny when people will be like, I know he's a good runner, but, and I'm like, I understand that inkling to feel that way, but it's a big but. Like, that's a big thing you're ignoring there, where you're like, I know he's one of the most dynamic runners in the entire country, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like you can't overlook that aspect. And, I just think there's a lot that, to your point, Curtis, that changes whenever you're playing against a quarterback like that. Y'all remember back in the day before mobile quarterbacks became as prominent as they are, it felt like every time Arkansas went up against one, it was like, oh no, this guy's going to be able to exploit us on the edge. And I mean, there's reasons for that. I mean, you saw it. I know the UAB game is not a shining example of how you want your offense to go, but you see how much of a luxury it is to be able to just kind of put the game away when you have a quarterback that can run the ball. I mean, it's for obvious reasons. Obviously, having an athlete at the quarterback position is tough to deal with, but it's like, that's an extra blocker for you and your team. And so it's like just a thing that Arkansas likes to keep until they really need it. And to see them kind of unleash it in that UAB game, which of course we didn't want to have to see them do that. But it's something that they're always going to have in their back pocket. And, I have a lot of buddies who are really big on the NFL and they love tracking the stats and all the whatever. In the last 5 years, the NFL nerds have figured out the quarterback run game is like the most effective thing you can do against an NFL defense. It's the one thing that those NFL defenders really just don't have answers for. And it's the most effective thing you can do. And so I always think it's so funny. And like, we're not ignoring the fact that Taylen Green is extremely inaccurate, perhaps the most inaccurate passer in the entire SEC, actually. We're not ignoring that. And we're not saying that he's without flaws or that he doesn't need to clean up some of the turnovers and stuff like that. But I always think it's funny when people are like, I know he's a good runner, but, and I'm like, okay, like you're just going to ignore a very, very prominent thing that helps your team win games. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and he's so good at it that it's almost kind of a cheat code at times, to where I feel like, Arkansas and Petrino, especially in some of these early, maybe not last week necessarily, but it's like they're just trying to work on other things, and then when it doesn't work, they're like, all right, screw it, let's just let them run, kind of deal. It reminds me of like when I was coaching in one of my last years. We got a 7-footer, a transfer from St. John's. This is before NIL, so I'm not going to talk to you about how we got him. But there were times where we would just have an opponent completely overmatched in the post. And we knew that we were, probably going to be in a good position to have success anyway. But early in the games, like, we would literally just try not to give him the ball. We were trying to run other actions, get other dudes involved, create different kinds of shots and looks, almost have him as a decoy. But then whenever that stopped working or it slowed down or we turned it over a couple of times, we're like, all right, screw it. Post up, get on the block, big fella. We're going to dump it down to you and you're going to get a bucket. And it's almost like that with Taylen Green sometimes, where they get in these situations where they're trying to, have him make a throw that he can't necessarily make, or, a couple plays aren't working here and there. And then it's, 3rd and 12 and you're like, all right, whatever, dude, just run, pick up the first down. We'll try again. So it's kind of neat to watch.
I do want to just say this real quick, because I know that some people, the other day I was saying Arkansas really hasn't had quarterbacks, like super athletic quarterbacks historically, and someone was like, hey, what about Quinn Grovey? I think I just need to put this into context for people that don't quite understand. Quinn Grovey, his senior year, finished with 1 yard rushing more than what Taylen Green has right now through 4 games. So, I mean, obviously he's going to finish well above whatever Quinn Grovey did on the ground. I know it's a different era and all that. But even Matt Jones, and again, very different era. If Matt Jones played football in college football today, it would look a lot different. But the most he ever ran for in college was 700 yards and 8 touchdowns, which is a damn good rushing season. That's similar to what KJ did. Taylen Green is currently on pace to have the best Arkansas rushing season by a quarterback. And so I think it's one thing where kind of people, I don't know if they quite understand how impactful his legs have been, and like how really there's not really a precedent for someone as dynamic as he's been on the ground and as consistent and effective as he's been. We'll see if he's able to keep that pace up. I know it's unlikely, but I mean, he ran for 80 yards in his first SEC game. I imagine they're going to lean on him quite a bit. So if he finishes with 750 rushing yards in that range, we're looking at the best Arkansas rushing season of all time by a quarterback.
So before we get into the phone lines and everything, because we do have some people calling in, want to get on this topic. Let's just play the the what if game, I guess. But if Arkansas, say in this game, won, what if they won by Taylen Green driving down the field, getting the team down the field to score a touchdown, not field goal range even, but like to score a touchdown to give Arkansas the go ahead and to win the game? What type of impact does that actually have on him individually, but also the team going into a really tough game? Because you always hear about, man, if you just get this and you get over the hump, then the floodgates open. Like, does that change? How much confidence boost does that give to a team like this, with Arkansas team, which, to be honest, they've not been very mentally tough late in games in a while? I feel like that would be something that maybe would turn it around.
It'd be huge, man. And I think it would be even bigger if he got the touchdown via pass as opposed to run. I really do. Like he had the huge completion late. I guess it was Oklahoma State, right? To Luke Has that crazy play. You know, like he's made some big plays in key moments with his arm, but like Arkansas has kind of struggled to get in the end zone, in the red zone. Like they've scuffled a little bit down there. And we know that he can get to the edge and run, but like if he was in a situation where he had to throw the football and find a receiver and get it in the end zone in a key moment like that, and he hit his target, I think that would go a long way towards, you know, anybody who's still kind of, you know, doubting him because of those inaccuracies. To see him do it on the biggest of stages in those moments would be, I think it would be huge for him.
No, yeah, it definitely would. And I want to go back to the Oklahoma State game just for a second, because, you know, remember that field goal drive that they had at the end of regulation, and it was like the ugliest game-tying drive of all time.
Unreal,
even
man.
That drive, I feel like, had to give this offense some confidence of like, we messed up. We took forever. We wasted 15 seconds off the clock. We missed a couple throws. We missed a couple receptions, and we still got a chance for our very shaky kicker to make a field goal. I wonder if like moments like that have to be good reps of experience that can help this offense moving forward. And, you know, to that same point, how big was the throw he made to Isaiah Satania? I mean, the 65-yard throw that Satania made a great catch on, that has to build some confidence for your offense. And so I think through 4 weeks, Arkansas has gotten some valuable reps in these type of situations. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't say that I doubt a lot of the fan base would be super thrilled and super confident if it was a situation where it was obvious passing situation and Taylen had to lead the team down the field. But it's not like something they haven't seen before or something that they've been involved in. So I think that they've definitely been gaining some confidence in that department. And I also just have to acknowledge the Bobby Petrino aspect of this. I feel like he would have some stuff dialed up.
Oh yeah, no, I think so too. And that's kind of what is the exciting part about it, and this possibility of this game. I honestly want to see Arkansas in that moment, even if I want them to win it, but just to see, okay, how do they handle it? How do they handle being down and against A&M of all teams, knowing what's like how important that particular game is. I know every game is important, but that A&M game, as I think we brought up yesterday, every single time Arkansas has won that game against A&M, they have won 8 games or more. Every time they've lost that game, they've only won 7 or less. That, to me, that's the most pivotal game of the year for Arkansas as a program. So it would be huge. Let's go ahead and go to the phone lines, and I'm sure they'll work perfectly fine now. As I believe this is Zach and Hardy who joins us now. What's going on, Zach?
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Hey, what's up, man?
Got him.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I feel like you guys kind of hinted on it there at the end. With Bobby Petrino back, having Taylen, you know, it's not like they just went and got some rando out of the portal with good stats. Bobby Petrino's kind of had his eye on that dude for a while. He knows his strengths. He knows what he's not good at, and he'll be able to utilize that. And I just wanted to add, could you imagine as a defense having a 6'7" dude come and put his cleats on your face mask? That's got to be intimidating.
Yeah, I would say so. I wonder if they asked that dude about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he'll be thinking about it.
I would be.
Yeah. Appreciate the call, Zach. Thanks for calling in.
They did ask Taylen Green about it, and it was kind of funny. I don't know if you guys listened to it last night, but they were asking him if he's going to dial it back a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I'll probably dial it back a little bit, but, you know, just when people get comfortable, then that's when I'm going to unleash it again kind of deal. But it was funny that he was talking about kind of getting, you know, popped a few times in that game, and even on that play, I mean, he kind of got the best of it, but he still got, you know, still pretty. If you're 6'7", you're going up to the face to kick a guy who's 6 feet tall, then you got a long ways to fall down. But he said it was like a welcome to the SEC moment for him. Like, you might get away with that in the Mountain West, but not in the SEC, dude.
Also, too, shout out to everybody. I wanted to do this. That stupid like highlight little clip video I made on social media, for some reason, has popped off to 2,500 likes. I don't know why, but
it was really funny.
Yeah, and it was it was the drunk highlight that I just put together on CapCut, you know. But obviously, Andrew doesn't follow my content.
Well, I thought you were referencing the video. Was it the simulation one, or are you talking about from the actual game?
From the actual game. Like, it was just something I posted on Sunday. Yeah.
Okay.
It was good. If you missed it, you got to see it.
Yeah. Well, but anyways, the reason I even brought that up is because that like I had to keep rewatching that play because I was editing it of him kicking the dude, and I'm like, there's just so much going on in that play to where like two things. One, it was awesome no matter what, but two, imagine how awesome it would have been if the guy went low and he just cleared that dude. Like even if it didn't go on, like there's a lot of things that happen in football as an individual player that if you do and accomplish, it gets you hype. But I feel like completely hurtling over a player has to be up there as one of the best feelings you could have as a football player.
Yeah.
Ain't got to be one of the worst when you're the guy that just goes clean under him. Like that's a tough one.
They asked Marion Harris last night if he saw it in real time during the play. Obviously he's blocking or whatever. And he was like, I don't remember if I saw it in real time, but I looked at the replay, and then in the huddle, I looked at Taylen and was like, bro, you got to chill out.
Well, it's like you guys have seen the movie Major League, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of when Willie Mays Hayes catches the ball and he's come back to the dugout and Lou Brown's like, nice job, nice catch, nice catch. Don't ever effing do it again, type of thing. That's what it reminded me. I was like, that's a great play. Don't ever do that again.
No kidding.
That'll be bad.
I want to say one more thing about Taylen Green, just because I was thinking about his press conference last night, and it ended, and he asked if he could say one more thing. And then he just went through and was really picking up all his teammates. He's like, it was really freaking hot at Auburn. It was the end of the game, and we had that long drive where we're running it to kind of ice things. He was like, got to give credit for the offensive line for holding up, the running backs for doing their thing and getting the difficult yards. And like he went around it was like a round table of shout outs for his team, signs of a great leader. Yeah, that's another factor into this. He's a leader, and those guys believe him. Even when he goes out there and completes only 44% of his passes and throws a couple picks, those dudes are 100% back in Taylen Green.
When Marion Harris was doing the point to him, hey, no, I'm trying to get like you. Like they were doing that thing. I like that.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of part of the Alumni Hall question of the day here on Inside Arkansas Live, which was a reminder, folks, we're going to be live streaming tomorrow at Alumni Hall there in Fayetteville, 3417 North College Avenue. It's going to be our regular Inside Arkansas Live. So we're going to be there at noon, and we're going to tell you about all the great stuff they have going on there, and also be there on location right there on North College. So come on out and see us and get you some great gear before you head down to Arlington with Alumni Hall. Got all the greatest apparel at affordable prices, and you can check them out and shop them online as well at alumnihall.com/Arkansas-Razorbacks and have it shipped directly to your door. So the poll question was for Alumni Hall, do you trust Taylen Green with the game on the line to make a play or plays? And I'm sure you guys looked at the percentages, but as of right now, Razorback fans say at 72% yes, that they do trust Taylen Green to make plays when the game's on the line.
That's higher than I would have thought.
I like it. It's a heck of a lot higher than it would have been a week ago. So
yeah, which is funny because it's not. I don't know. It's not like the Auburn game showed like some clutch gene in there, but yeah, it's just a matter of timing and seeing him go on the road and win an SEC game as a starting quarterback. I guess probably helps. But is positive vibes at an all-time high so far right now for Razorback fans?
Not an all-time high. That'll be in a few days.
I'm sorry. I mean, like as in preseason and everything since last year ended.
Not quite.
Okay.
Dude, after the UAPB game, people really were convinced that was the beginning of a national title season. It was crazy. And I loved it. On our show every week, anytime we'd be like, well, Arkansas might not beat Oklahoma State. People were like, whoa, what the heck? People were going crazy. They thought we were the most negative podcast on the planet that week. And so I kind of wish we can get back to that.
Yeah, that's what my hope is too, but not very likely. But still, the Taylen Green thing, man, is wild because of just he's got so much to him to where I hate making the comparison continuing on with Matt Jones, but there is just a little bit of a Matt Jones thing where you can see how he could really win some games and do some crazy things, but you could also see how he could make a horrible mistake and a costly one. Like throwing a bad pass or, choosing to try to run and fumbling it, just something like that. It's just so I've never seen a quarterback since Matt Jones at least be one end or the other on the spectrum where you're just stressed every time he has the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, John. I think you should be less hesitant to throw out the comparison because they're extremely similar. In every way, statistically, physically, they are very, very similar. So I know that's almost blasphemous, but it's pretty hits the nail on the head, honestly.
Yeah. I wonder if he likes to bass fish as much as Matt Jones. Probably not. Yeah, that's there is some legit comparisons. Though.
Hopefully he didn't take up all of Matt Jones's hobbies.
Yeah, let's hope not. Got a few more callers we're going to get to. Looks like we got Blake, who's in California. What's going on, Blake?
Oh, just another lovely Wednesday here, guys. Glad to have you on today. Just had a quick question for you and then a comment, because I'm not going to pretend that I'm an X's and O's, real inside football type guy here. But just noticing the last few games, especially under center, I was curious if you knew why, when we're running with Jackson, why we kind of do that flip to him versus just handing it off. I kind of just feel like there's, just a ticking time bomb there waiting for that to be a disaster again after he's already fumbled one of the pitches. I just wanted to know if there was any type of scheme while we're pitching it versus handing it off, or if there's any reason that makes sense versus just a handoff.
I think it speeds up the play just a bit.
Yeah.
Like if you don't fumble it, of course, which, like you said, he did fumble it against Oklahoma State in a very key moment. I'm not crazy about the pitch either, but I think it's one of those. You're trying to get him to the line of scrimmage as quickly as possible, and so going under center and pitching it behind you, it speeds it up by like a split second, which I guess in these moments, matter. I used to always think it was crazy with McFadden, how they would do the stretch play. And I'm like, it takes them 4 seconds to get out there. Why are they? And so I kind of see both sides of the coin, but I'm like you, where I get a little nervous every time I see him pitch that ball, because he's pitching it from 4 feet away. And it's always a little bit makes me nervous. But I think it's just simply to get him to the line of scrimmage as fast as possible.
That makes sense. And then, the Taylen Green experience kind of just seems like being an Arkansas fan in a nutshell. When it's good and exciting, it's super good. And then, all of a sudden there's a downfall and you got to pick yourself back up. That's why I feel like kind of connecting to him. I'm like, he is kind of Arkansas in his spirit. And I will say that he has people out here fired up. That last year we couldn't have anybody join us for game day. And this Saturday we're having people drive from LA and San Diego an hour and a half each to meet us in the middle. And I think we're going to have about 20 people watching this game, that after the Auburn game and after most of them saw the Oklahoma State game too. That they're fired up to watch them, and Taylen Green's getting people excited even out here about Arkansas football.
That's awesome,
That's big time, man. Yeah, I like that. You're gonna have to get some pictures of the gathering, share them on the show. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Invite Mus if you want, if you need a place to watch the game while you're out there.
Well, when it was the Chris James rumors, we were going to go into, we obviously didn't get Cal. We were going to go to all the USC games and hold up Arkansas flags behind him and give him some gruff, but ever since we upgraded to Cal, our hatred has kind of died down there.
Yeah, suddenly not as big of a deal. Not as big of a deal. But hey, we appreciate the phone call, Blake. Have a good one, man.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
Appreciate you.
It's actually a really good point about upgrading to Cal, how that's helped the hatred for the way Muss left die down quite a bit. Because he's right, man. If it would have been Chris Jans or whoever, he'd be a marked man in the state.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that aspect of it, to where because we always thought Muss probably had a negative reaction to the Cal thing, but I'm sure he probably in his heart was like, thank God Arkansas fans aren't going to because he would have probably felt bad if Arkansas basketball withered away into oblivion that. Deep down he would have been like, damn, that was kind of tough how I did him. But now that it's Cal,
it also would have impacted his legacy or whatever the hell you want to call it at Arkansas too. But now, you feel pretty good about the prospects of Arkansas still being a competent basketball program right after he leaves. That's only going to look better for him, in the annals of the history books.
Well, we talk about it with Mike Anderson a lot too. It makes Mike Anderson look better, where you're like, oh, they needed to do this to get to Muss, and now they needed to do this to get to Cal. It just kind of works out. So yeah, everybody wins.
Yes, yeah, and that's my favorite thing. And people compare it to relationships and stuff. It's you never really think about your ex-girlfriend as much if you have a 5, but you go to a 10. It's it's great and all. Yeah, we had good times, but I'm on to bigger, better things right now. A lot more phone calls continuing to come in. Let's try Jeremy, who's in Tulsa. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, good afternoon, fellas. Can you hear me all right?
We got
you, man.
Man, I was so pumped yesterday, going to be able to talk to you guys. I actually called in during the countdown. It's I'm going to be the first caller today, just for Andrew's Ozark Go to mess up the phone line. So... Andrew, what are we doing, man? We talked about this last week. Come on.
Listen, I'm
kidding. No, hey, listen.
Okay.
Go ahead, Andrew. What were you going to say?
No, I didn't have anything
I'll let you
important to say.
defend
You're good.
yourself.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
And also, John, on was it yesterday's segment, you had mentioned like there was a caller on Saturday that had trouble pronouncing Leroy Lounge. That was me. So
Oh, yeah.
you're not the only one.
It's a tough man.
Yeah, it is Leroy Lounge. It's funny. I was like practicing Leroy Lounge, saying it 5 times fast and still struggled. So I'm just going to say the lounge. Everybody will know what I'm meaning.
There you go.
But no, I was just calling in a couple things. I'll be at that game in Arlington this weekend. I'm so excited to go down there and watch Arkansas play. Went to the game last year in Baton Rouge, and watching them drive and kick the game-winning field goal was tough. Hopefully, different script this year. But I was calling to talk a little bit about the Hugh Freeze situation. I don't want to beat the dead horse because I know it's been a day and it's kind of simmered down a little bit. But I just think, for a guy like Hugh Freeze to say what he did, like how cowardly for him to 2 days after you actually played the game, you actually got to play Arkansas, you're going to sit there and say, oh, we play them 9 more times, we beat them 9 more times. Like, no, you don't. Like, it's such a sore loser mentality for somebody to say that. Now, if Arkansas went down to Auburn and we played our A-plus game and they played their D game and we barely beat them, like maybe there would be some truth to that. But the fact of the matter is Arkansas didn't play very well either. Arkansas didn't play very well. You guys didn't play very well, and we still beat you by 2 scores. So, and also, you think about it, it could have been a lot worse. You missed a field goal, I think, on the opening drive. The last drive when we handed it off, you could have taken the points if you wanted to. There's 30-14. If you capitalize on one of those turnovers that you didn't capitalize on, it's borderline blowout. So, like, I say all that to say, Hugh Freeze needs to. I don't know, man. He's kind of narcissistic in my opinion, and but I hope he takes that L. And I didn't lose any sleep over it. Watching Auburn struggle, I sleep perfectly good at night. So, also my next point is like to the Hogs fans. The Hog fans, man, like we sit here, after the Oklahoma State game and we're like, man, we outplayed them. We should have won the game. And we would do anything to switch being in position with Oklahoma State, like being outplayed, but yet just finding a way to win. Kind of like Texas A&M 2022, all the green check marks on the statistics sheet, like favored Arkansas except for the score. We're like, man, we could flip that. Like we would definitely change. And then against Auburn, like, it wasn't to that extreme, but like you can make the argument they kind of outplayed you in some categories, but yet you found a way to win. And a lot of Hog fans are still like, well, it's not good enough. Like you can't have both sides. Enjoy the win when you can. I mean, at the end of the day, I know Auburn's down. I get that, but you went to Jordan-Hare, won by 2 scores. You didn't play your best ball. Could have been a lot worse. And if you do clean up some of that stuff, I mean, I think we can go down to Arlington and win the football game. So looking forward to that. That's all I had to say. Not really a question, just kind of venting today. Yesterday, I probably would have been a lot more hostile. So maybe it was a good thing the phone lines were down. So, but all right, fellas, I'll hang up and listen. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate it,
man.
Jeremy.
We appreciate
Appreciate
you. That was, I think, one of my biggest things about the Hugh Freeze deal is kind of what Jeremy was saying was like neither team played particularly well. Like he said, it'd been one thing if Arkansas was kind of playing out of their mind or over their head and Auburn struggled and Arkansas snuck out of there. Neither team played well. But we have evidence that Arkansas can play better because we've already seen it this year. Auburn has just stunk all year, the entire season. It's like there's no reason to believe that they would just suddenly get a lot better. And that's what irritated me about that. And yeah, that Texas A&M game's it's winnable, man. But it seems like it always is. So we'll see.
Oh, it's always winnable. I've been looking at that Auburn-Oklahoma game all week. Auburn is a 2.5-point underdog at home, which like they're never underdogs at home, no matter who they're playing, really. Like even if it's Bama, it's like less than a touchdown. Auburn that's like a must win kind of. Does it feel that way? Like I also don't think it's out of the question that Auburn beats them. I'll just go ahead and say that. I don't think Oklahoma's very good. I think they have very clear issues. They're going to start a true freshman at quarterback. I think Auburn's a sneaky dog, but I'm like, dude, they better beat Oklahoma with the way that Hugh Freeze has been talking and just kind of the narrative around the program. Like they kind of have to win that game, right?
Well, I don't think that Jordan-Hare is that much of a home field advantage right now. And I get it. Like all accounts are that atmosphere was awesome. But I mean, look at the games they've lost in there, not just this year, but in recent history under Hugh Freeze. At the end of the day, for me, I look at it and both teams are, pretty inept offensively, but Oklahoma still has a top 15 defense in the country and Auburn doesn't. And so that might neutralize any home field advantage that they have. It's going to be really interesting to see. You thought that Arkansas and Auburn was ugly with the turnovers and the craziness and the quarterback play. This game is going to be an absolute mess.
Y'all remember that Auburn game that was like 3-2 against Mississippi State a few years ago?
Oh, yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah, could end up being. But speaking of Hugh Freeze, another Lane Kiffin thing, apparently Hugh Freeze complimented the Ole Miss Rebels about their NIL collective and how great it's going. Lane Kiffin was asked about that, and he says, quote, "That's nice of him. Next, he'll try to instill Walker Jones like he's tried taking all of our coaches from here, too."
Really? Is that a real quote?
That is a real quote. I triple checked it. That is a real quote. So
that boy Kiffin just been throwing the shots this week.
Yeah.
I'm telling. Well, here's the thing, and I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but Lane Kiffin and Sam Pittman actually like each other and respect each other a lot. Like Lane Kiffin, every time that he's gone up against Arkansas, before and after, even in losses, he's been always very complimentary about Sam Pittman. So who knows? Maybe that's something about, hey, you're not going to talk about my boy Pittman like that, and I'm going to start taking shots at you too. So
I think they get dinner with Jimmy Sexton together.
Yes, they have to play racquetball together.
I bet that honestly is why they're kind of friendly, though, if I had to guess.
Probably doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there could just be like, I would just assume there's a big mansion party of all Jimmy Sexton's like clients, just like like once a year, just comes over to some mansion. You got every big time football player and coach and everybody just coming together. That would be a pretty cool thing. Let's see. We'll get to more of your phone calls in a second, folks. I know people want to dive in on it, but I did want to bring this up too because this is kind of the big national story right now. And there is a roundabout way that it is correlated with Arkansas and at least connected because, as we know, Barry Odom is the head coach of the UNLV Fighting Rebels. I don't know if they're still the Fighting Rebels, but I'm calling them
the Running Rebels. Buddy.
The Running Rebels have, running, fighting, same thing. So, anyways, they're really good this year. I mean, they're 3-0. They've had some nice wins. Obviously, I know we're a big fan of Barry Odom and rooting him on and all of that. But this kind of broke this morning where they have one of their starting quarterback. Matthew Sluka is his name. And, he's been pretty good for him. He's their QB1 and everything. Well, just kind of woke up and got the news that he is leaving the team. He's redshirting this year. He's leaving the team, and he is going to be entering into the transfer portal, all because of NIL promises that were not kept. And there's just been ongoing updates with all of this. It was basically where Marcus Cromartie of Equity Sports is his representation, told ESPN that apparently he was verbally, this is where it all gets hairy, verbally promised a minimum of $100,000 from a UNLV assistant coach to transfer there. None of that money was paid. It says once Sluka enrolled there was no effort by the UNLV's collective to formalize a contract to that amount. Months after Sluka enrolled and Cromartie made multiple efforts to the staff to address the issue, he said that the school and collective came back with a contract of $3,000 per month for the next 4 months. That's $88,000 less than what Cromartie said UNLV was verbally promised up to that front. The only money Sluka has received from UNLV, according to Cromartie, is $3,000 relocation stipend for his move. Said there was never an ask for more money after UNLV's hot start. Only the initial amount was promised up front. They said that and according to Bob Sluka, his dad, says, they keep deferring. We don't know. You have to wait. Then it was like, we're going to give him game checks. We're like, okay, great. We didn't ask for a single dollar more, but nothing has been paid. So therefore, he's out.
Well, it's tough right now because it really is a lot of he said, she said kind of stuff. First of all, for people saying, why would he do a verbal agreement? You got to have something on paper, whatever. Well, you really, by rule, like you cannot do that until he's enrolled. And so I think that was kind of the point, was like, hey, this is what you're going to get. Once you're enrolled, we'll draw out the paperwork, whatever. And then I guess that didn't happen. But yeah, I was reading more into it, and there's like 3,000 stories about this, and every one of them is different. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. But there was like more context from the agent where like they got there and it was like 2 weeks into camp. They hadn't heard anything. So the agent like reached out and he's saying, hey, like, I know you guys are in the middle of camp, but just can we look into this? Nothing's come of it yet. And then it got ignored. And then a couple weeks later, he fired off another message and was like, hey, like, what's going on here? And he, according to the agent, I guess he was like, listen, we don't expect necessarily $100,000 over the course of the next 4 months. Can we do $10,000 a month? And then the reply back to him was just no. And he was like, okay, like how about, $5 a month? And they were like, $3K, take it or leave it. And it was kind of the conversation, and who knows if that's actually true or not. But that was the latest thing that I read. And it's just, it's a mess, man. And what Sam Pittman said on the teleconference today when he was asked about it that really stood out the most to me was like, one, yes, he's concerned that this is just going to be a growing issue that we're going to see more and more of. But he said the toughest part about it is coaches cannot comment on it, but players can. And so like, regardless of who's right and who's wrong, the coach looks like crap no matter what. And maybe it is on Barry Odom. Like, I'm not ruling that out, but he has no opportunity to really defend himself. And that's tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a he said, she said. And I thought Bill Connolly had a funny tweet about this where he said, whichever side of the coin you fall on, the solution is the same. If you think it's messed up that coaches can make promises and not deliver and not be held accountable, you probably wish there was some type of verbal written agreement. If you're on the side of the player where you feel like it's messed up that the player can just not play and just kind of basically publicly extort these coaches, you probably wish there were some type of written verbal agreements as well, or written legitimate, compensation agreements typed up. I think that the solution is the same no matter what, where we're just going to have to get to a point where revenue sharing is obviously inevitable. We all kind of know that at this point. But I think it's going to be a lot more formal, legitimate stuff that basically it's like a government funded thing. Like it's going to become very official. These guys are pretty much going to become employees, but it is just funny. This is a perfect college football story because everyone feels very strongly about it and nobody knows the truth. Nobody knows the truth, including the parties involved. And so it's pretty funny how like everyone is putting out their stances of, oh, that kid's a scumbag, or, oh, Barry Odom's a scumbag, or, oh, his agent's a scumbag. Literally nobody knows. And that's what kind of is why we've always said college football is the wild, wild west. Like, this is the biggest example of this. This reeks to me like the Rodney Hill agent situation, where Rodney Hill's agent all of a sudden was trying to cut deals that he didn't know about and all this. And I think there's a miscommunication somewhere along the line, whether it's with the agent and the player, agent of the school, whatever. But yeah, this is just kind of the world we live in. And it's pretty jarring to see it happen for a playoff contender. I mean, a team that's in the top 25, 3-0, they play this week. They've got a big game. It's just kind of jarring to see. I think it's also worth noting that the kid's not very good at football. Like he was an okay quarterback at Holy Cross. Like he was a good, like, 3-year starter at Holy Cross who completed like 61% of his passes or whatever. And so he goes to UNLV and he's throwing under 50% completions. He only throws like 12 passes a game. And he's like, he believes his market value has increased a great amount. And, maybe he's right, but I think it's just a fascinating situation.
Well, to add some more context to this, Ross Dellinger does a great job of covering stuff like this and among many other things with Yahoo Sports. This is where there's another little connection here. Rob Sine, the CEO of Blueprint Sports, which operates UNLV's collective, says that's what I was about to say, and Arkansas's, that the collective never agreed to a $100,000 deal with the quarterback. It says it made a payment of $3,000 to Sluka, and we're discussing a monthly payment of $3,000 before the quarterback's decision this week. And apparently his agent, again, Marcus Cromartie, says that nothing was signed, but that coaches promised $100,000 to Sluka during recruitment. Sluka's recruiter was UNLV's OC, Brennan Marion. Says the collective may not have agreed to $100,000, but coaches did. Now, this is another little fascinating thing. It says, can Matthew Sluka go back to UNLV? Can he return to UNLV? His agent, Marcus Cromartie, says it's up to Barry Odom. Matt has been open when wanting to play football, but $3,000 a month for the next 4 months just isn't fair. So,
buddy, you guys beat Kansas, and for the entire second half, they refused to allow you to throw the ball.
Yeah,
it was guaranteed to not go well.
Your leverage isn't there.
Man, it just sucks because this has been such a cool story. UNLV, ranked in the AP poll for the first time since like the 70s or something crazy. 3-0, good for Barry Odom. Like they've got the inside track at a college football playoff berth. And no matter how this ends, it's a crappy look for the kid. Like if you're a coach who might be interested from another program, is this really something you want to get involved in? And then just looks bad for UNLV, whether it's fair or not. Like it hurts recruiting. It's a black eye for Barry Odom. It just stinks for everybody. Hate that, man.
Yeah, nobody wins in this thing. And then also,
I don't really.
Go ahead, Andrew.
No, you were going to say something cooler than me.
Oh, I was just saying that the other thing too about this, and like people bringing this up, I'm going to be honest, just from stories I've heard, folks, this goes on all the time. The only difference is now it's public.
Yep.
Like that's the only difference in this story. This stuff happens all the time now. There have been players, and you may not even know who they are, where they're from, but there have been players that have legitimately held out of practices and held out of the until I get my money that you promised me. So that's another thing you got to take into consideration, that this isn't just, oh my goodness, man, this one thing that happened. It's like, no, this happens all the time. The only difference is now it became public. Now action was happening because you got the quarterback leaving on a Wednesday from his team in the middle of the season. And I also agree with you guys too. It's like, it'd be one thing if he was out there like Jackson Dart numbers that he was putting up or something. But now it's like, dude, what leverage do you have? Like, who's going to be like, oh yeah, well, we're going to take this kid. And then the other thing, I'm like, okay, Mary, what did the crap did you see from this kid to say, hey, we'll give you $100,000? This kid ain't worth $100,000. Like, I just have so many questions about that. They're probably never going to get answered, but it happens all the time. It's just now that this one's public.
I mean, it happens all the time. And like, guys, we all heard the same stuff during spring practice about Arkansas's situation and how they had players sitting out of practice. I mean, Blackstock, I know, is kind of the most prominent one, but I mean,
the whole receiver room.
Yeah, the whole receiver room. I heard there was like stuff about, and look, who knows what's true and what's not, but all I know is it never really came to light. You know, as far as I know, Andrew Armstrong's still at Arkansas, Tyrone Broden's still at Arkansas, Keyshawn Blackstock still at Arkansas. And so it's one of those things, like you said, John, it happens everywhere. And it's just crazy that this happened right now for UNLV coming out of, I believe, a bye week, and now they're 3-0. I forget who they play, but they have a huge game.
Fresno State.
Fresno State, yes, that's a huge game for. I mean, like, I think they're 3-point favorites or something like that, but like it's one of their biggest ones on the schedule. It's weird that it's coming out right now, but like it almost makes you think about all the other coaches in the country, and you're like, man, how has this not happened more often? Like, it's kind of crazy that we're doing this over $3,000 a month or whatever. Like, there's a lot more lucrative players that are having a lot more big picture negotiations, and it's crazy that this hasn't happened more. But I fear that this ain't gonna be the first time we see stuff like this play out.
Well, yeah, and the question about like, would he go back to UNLV? Oh, that's up to Barry Odom. Well, to Sam Pittman's Cole Beer's point, like, would the coach take him back? Like, if I'm Barry Odom, like, I probably have some reservations at this point. If I'm that locker room that has an opportunity to do something really, really special that he just quit on, I'm sure there's some people that support him, like, hey man, get your check, get your money or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a brotherhood, and he's supposed to be the leader of that. I'd have some reservations about that too. Like, are you riding with us or not, man? So it just sucks for UNLV, which, by the way, did you see the name of their collective? UNILV.
I like that.
It's pretty solid. Yeah.
Man, yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, I feel bad for everybody. But I'm going to agree with you too. Like, if I'm Barry Odom, like, no, sorry. I'm trying to get ready for Fresno State. I got bigger fish to fry right now. I'm trying to make this work, and it's just, I don't know. It's just a very disappointing thing. And, you know, I see that like Stripius Wig says, how did the people who okayed NIL not foresee these issues? There probably should have been some regulation in place to make sure kids aren't lied to. Small universities can still field a competitive team. Here's the thing. A lot of people did see the NIL and foresee the issues, but the problem is that you're talking about governments. And like, you know, when California, I believe, was the first state to kind of open up the floodgates of this NIL, they're politicians. They don't care about the NCAA. They don't care about kids and, you know, fulfilling their commitments to their school. They're just about what's right and wrong, laws. So they do that, and then they're like, all right, y'all figure it out. They don't care. What do they care if the NCAA keeps it going or not?
Well, and from a legislation standpoint, all of this kind of stuff of players getting promised stuff to come here, that has nothing to do with the people who allowed NIL to happen. Really what it's supposed to be is people that are on your roster can now profit off their name, image, and likeness. In terms of the legislation, it was never a thing where it was like, hey, yeah, you can recruit guys to come make money at your school. That was, I mean, obviously we all knew that was going to be part of it. But in terms of like the people who let this happen, that's kind of like, you know, they were like, hey, we'll let you guys make money off of this, but like, you know, like it's not like there's not rules in place to say Brennan Marion can't get on the phone and be like, yeah, dude, we'll give you $100,000. Like, oh, yeah, sure, come on down. Which it seems like that may be what has happened here. Like Brennan Marion may have just kind of been talking reckless and then was like, oh yeah, we'll get it worked out. And the collective's like, we don't know nothing about that. Like that's what makes this stuff so sketchy.
Well, it was a system that was designed to fail. Like it was going to be a mess when NIL came to fruition anyway. But when you couple that at the same time by just completely taking any regulations off of the transfer portal on top of it, it's a disaster waiting to happen, man. And everybody knew it. And like little by little, we've been starting to see more and more examples of why this is a bad idea. And this is the latest. And I don't know what the escalation is from here, but it's coming. I mean, this is only the tip of the iceberg, man.
I like this comment from Kingsley. He says, I just find it funny how people immediately ran and jumped to cape for the university. I'll be honest with you, Kingsley. I think it's funny that people feel so strongly to cape for anyone that they're like, I know for a fact Matthew Sluka got disrespected here. Or I know for a fact that Barry Odom's getting done wrong. Like anyone who acts like they know what's going on, I say it all the time, they're just lying to you and themselves. Like, why? Like anyone who so strongly is like, oh yeah, I know what happened here and it's messed up. Like it's crazy.
Well, and I think it's this was something that Scott Van Pelt quote tweeted, and I think it's the perfect example of it. He just says, NIL is just drug deals gone wrong now. Who are you going to complain to? And that's right. True. It's like, it's like a drug deal's gone wrong. So what are you going to do? You're going to run to the cops, you know, because you're doing something illegal as it is, because you're not supposed to be doing this as far as all that. But so that's, to me, exactly what it's about. And that's why there's no transparency, because you're not supposed to be doing it this way. But when you're doing it this way, you don't want to give up yourself and incriminate yourself. But then, you got to think about your future in football. And is anybody going to, there's just so many things, man. There's so much to unpack from it. And that's what makes it such an interesting topic, is because no one really knows, but everybody has an opinion on it. So the fact is that it just sucks for college football. Like,
it's about the facts, John.
Yeah. Shows of record is what it's about.
I tell you, Matthew Sluka better hope that backup sucks. That's all I'm going to say.
Man, what if he comes?
Because if UNLV ends up like 4-3 here in a few weeks, then all of a sudden it's going to be like, hey, why don't you drop the bag and maybe you can get to a good ball game.
Yeah. I tweeted out, I was like, well, could you imagine if this like happened at Arkansas? What would like the reactions would be? I mean, man.
Just the athletic director saying we need more people in our collective sent this place into a frizzy for an entire week. If something like that happened, goodness. Put out in a public forum like that.
Dude, I love the Blake sent me a tweet when I said that. He says the fans would make the Burrell Center look like the Capitol on January 6th. I'm like, oh my goodness, man. This is like fans would be coming out of the woodwork. They'd be so mad. Oh man. Yeah. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but still. Some of your chats though we will get into, folks. But just not only on this topic, but also on Taylen Green, because I know some people we're asking about this, but Zach comes in and says, promising a bunch of dudes that they can't even buy a beer $100,000 was never going to end well. Yeah, well, this thing is just a word of advice for everybody out there, which I know you're not supposed to, but get it in writing. Get everything like that in writing, and you won't have this issue. It won't hold up in court.
And that's the other part. Like this, we talk about how this is all just weird and unregulated and everything, but like you technically, and nobody cares about the rules, but like you can't really get that stuff in writing with a signed contract until you're enrolled. So it's like you almost have to get there and just hope that people pay up on their promises, or you're doing something, semi shady and under the table or whatever. And so that puts you at a little bit of risk too. So that's almost like a lose-lose. And then for all the people that are, like going after Barry Odom about it and everything, and did he do this? What does he have to say about it? And again, like they're not supposed to be part of those conversations at all. We know that they are, but they're not supposed to be. And so when you have situations like this, it's really hard to determine what the heck is actually going on. And there seems like a lot of easy ways to correct this. But because of the loose regulations that are actually in place, it just makes it even more complicated. The whole thing is a disaster.
I think it's also worth noting that this is taking place in Las Vegas.
It's hilarious.
That's Luka. It's time to spin the chambers. You want to bet on yourself, kid? Go bet on yourself.
Get out. Get out of the golden nugget, man, and you wouldn't need all this extra NIL.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about your coach. Just go all on red, bro. Come on.
And I wonder, is he going to still just remain in school for the rest of the semester? Is he going to go to class? Like, I mean, it matters, but
he can't transfer anywhere right now, right?
Right. The portal's not open. And so,
I mean, he obviously wouldn't be able to play anywhere this year. So he's played his 3 games. He's just going to redshirt and try to go again. I don't know, man. It's just very fascinating. I'm sure there's going to be more reporting done on this and more facts that come out. And so I look forward to seeing like the source wars, because you've already seen it. Different, like high level. Like I saw Pete Thamel, who was reporting a lot of like that stuff about the $100,000, and then you have Ross Dellinger saying that the collective never agreed to that and all that. And so it's like there's going to be sources out the wazoo on this one, and I'm sure it's all going to be facts.
Oh yeah, yep. And I wanted to give a shout out also to my buddy P. Steves, who had a great tweet that I retweeted. When it was all coming out in the beginning, he says, "Shout out to Hugh Freeze attempting to get a quarterback middle of the season." So appreciate that.
And by the way, I saw someone, Megan, who's really angry. Not the one of the 7 Megans that we like, the one that's really angry all the time. She was saying Sluka to Arkansas, and she didn't like the Taylen Green stuff, but I think Sluka would be QB4 at Arkansas. Let's be real.
Man, I don't know. I don't think at this point in time, who's to say he'd even beat out Austin Ledbetter? I mean, just saying.
Yeah,
like he may be way down on the list.
What's Ledbetter getting in NIL? It's got to be pretty similar.
Yeah, 100K. Suddenly we see him leaving the team. I'm kidding. We love Led, but just would be funny. Let's go back to phone lines. This guy's been holding on for a bit, so hopefully he's still there. I think this is Parker, but we'll go ahead and get it done. What's up, Parker?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, man. What's up?
I just got a few points about the game.
Yeah.
This weekend in Arlington. First off, this is going to be a Lucas breakout game. Always plays good in Arlington. I think it's going to be his breakout game.
Okay.
And then I think it's going to be a shellacking that's going to take place in Arlington. It's going to be ass to belt the whole game. Hogs by 90.
All right. That's pretty plain and simple, man. Feeling confident, huh? So you feel that confident in this game, no matter how it's gone before?
Yes. Oh, confident. I'm drunk on the Kool-Aid, John.
Let's go.
No kidding.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, appreciate the phone call, Parker. Thanks for listening and watching in, man.
I don't know that that Arlington was the Lucas breakout game so much as
he
the
broke something.
Broken game.
Yeah, it's the broken collarbone game is what it is.
Yeah, it's tough. But
the LSU game, by the way, last year was the not a great game for IHAS, but yeah.
But I hope so. I mean,
yeah,
we don't have to get into it again. We all hope that Lucas gets to touch football again this season.
Yes, please. Please. That would be such a nice gesture if that happened. 478-344-6623, by the way, his phone number call in. What's that, Andrew?
I would settle for just the one big Lucas play like he had against Oklahoma State. He had one catch for 43 yards or whatever, and it was a big touchdown to give Arkansas the lead in the fourth quarter. I'd settle for that. You know, keep the rabbit in the hat and then pull it out when you really need it. I'm okay with that, but the fact that he's been just a non-factor since then is crazy.
It hurts my soul to hear Sam Pittman this week over and over say, "I love Texas A&M's tight ends now." It just hurts my soul to hear that.
I hate my own.
knowing what you got at the crib, you know.
Man, you got between him and Ty Washington and still Farkeese Gums. And can't forget Andreas Poski. I mean, the guy that gets talked about all the time. I don't know why no one's talking about him, but he's big.
I keep hearing people say this, that, that some of the problems with Has is that, Arkansas can't protect, and what they couldn't protect last year. The offensive line was worse last year. KJ Jefferson was getting hit every other snap last year. Lucas was still getting the football. He was effective then.
He's been targeted 7 times in 4 games.
Dan Enos is greater than Bobby Petrino.
7 times in 4 games.
Yeah, it's not a good clip. It's probably not going to lead to him.
It went up the other day when he was targeted twice with 1 reception. That went up. The numbers were skyrocketing then.
Oh, well, there you go. See, it's moving the right direction. It's all about the trajectory and where it's going to be going. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get into. I like the what's more likely stuff that we can dive into, because this is always ridiculous and unhinged most of the time. It's presented by BetSaracen. The best betting app is BetSaracen. I'll get it right. Download on your iPhone or Android today. Get to betting here in the state of Arkansas and check out all the different specials that they have to choose from there. And Going to do a little bit what's more likely for the Razorbacks this week. You can play along in the chat if you'd like and let us know what you'd like to do. So how about this, fellas? What's more likely, Arkansas to make a game-winning field goal from 50 yards or a game-winning touchdown from 10 yards?
Game-winning touchdown from 10 yards.
Easy the touchdown.
Yeah.
You think
I don't
so?
know. I really genuinely don't know.
I get it, and I understand why you put this out there. But yeah.
What would be the what about a touchdown, game-winning touchdown from 2 yards out? Because I feel like that one's even more difficult.
If you said game-winning touchdown pass from 10 yards or 2 yards or something, I might start considering it.
All right, so yeah, I'll do it then. How about that game-winning touchdown pass from 10 yards out?
I'd probably still say that over a 50-yard field goal, but it's like I would think about it a lot harder.
What was the distance on the Cam Little field goal that he missed? Like 37?
Yeah, it was sub 40. I know that. I think it was
Cam Little's missing 37 yarders with the game on the line. Kyle Ramsey ain't booting a 50-yarder. You could put it as a 75-yard touchdown. I'd probably still go the touchdown.
But Andrew, it's in a dome.
It is in a dome, but that
dome.
means Taylen Green's rocket arm is going to be able to reach any limit, so it doesn't matter.
Man. Well, I think Razorback fans will take either one of these, but I'd probably lean towards the same, like on the touchdown. But the field goal thing is still like we've seen kickers that even at Arkansas who have missed ones that should have been made easily, but then they go out there and they boot 50 yards. I think Adam McFain was one of those kickers that felt like he would do that pretty often. So, all right. And guy we just talked about, how about this? What's more likely? Landon Jackson gets 2 sacks or Luke Hasz gets 5 receptions?
Jeez.
I actually think it's Jackson. He's had a couple multi-sack games in his career. I mean, obviously I had the Bama game last year, but I think he also had one against South Carolina a couple years ago. Like, I think he does seem to get them in bunches, kind of. I think he could get 2 sacks because I think 5 receptions for Luke Hasz. Like, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to have 5 receptions the next 3 games.
Well, here's the thing. Like Landon Jackson is 100% in control of whether or not he gets 2 sacks. Luke Hasz is not in control of if he has the ball thrown to him 5 times. So I would go with Jackson.
Man, it's crazy. I might say Luke Hasz. I don't know. I feel like because coaches, this is maybe a weird way of looking at it, because coaches are going to be targeting Landon Jackson, be aware of him, and they're going to try to scheme and try to maybe double team him or whatever, because they still know that he's a great player. But I feel like maybe because of how Andrew Armstrong is going to get targeted more and trying to watch the run game, trying to watch Taylen, maybe that opens up. But either way, they're both pretty unlikely, just considered how things have gone this year. So that's the point of asking what's more likely.
That's why it was a good question.
How about this one? What's more likely? Taylen Green leads the team in rushing, or Isaiah Satania leads the team in reception or receiving yards?
Well, both happened last week. How about that?
I know. So that's what I'm saying. So will it happen again?
I think Satania actually still is the one I lean towards, just slightly. I mean, I think Taylen Green's always going to be a candidate to lead Arkansas in rushing. But I think Satania could make a couple big plays like he did last week, where all it takes is one big one for him to lead the team in receiving yards. And I think Taylen, you've got the sacks, which are a factor here too. Jaquinta Jackson's the best back in the SEC, so you imagine he's going to lead Arkansas in rushing a lot. I actually like Satania in this one.
I'm going Green. When's the last time we've seen an Arkansas receiver not named Andrew Armstrong stat games?
Yeah, that is true. Back to back, you'd be doing it back to back times. Yeah.
If he does, that would be awesome, because then I would stop saying Arkansas has 1.5 receivers, and I could legitimately say they have 2.
It's 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely be able to say that.
I'll also go with Green. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, you're also absolutely right, though, Andrew, about the sack yardage and everything. And this does seem like a Jaquinta Jackson kind of game.
Yeah. Well, given the circumstances of Texas A&M and their rush defense is not very good, I like Taylen Green in that one, that situation. And this is also really random, but can we stop making QB NILs be negative yardage for quarterbacks?
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, John. I lost money on Patrick Mahomes the other day. I had him at plus 200 to have 30 rushing yards, and he had 30. And then there were 3 kneel downs. He ended up with 16 yards, and they were 9-yard kneel downs too. It was crazy. He was running around back there. It was insane, because sometimes I've noticed that they'll do it where it's team whatever, even in the NFL. But the way that the Chiefs were doing it, he was running around in circles trying to kill time. That really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I get it. You're gonna have to. You got it. Someone's got to get the stat. In the book, someone has to get the negative yards. But yeah.
Also, college football just makes sacks not count for quarterback rushing yards. That's how the NFL does it, and it's never been an issue. I don't know if sacks should necessarily count against the rushing yards.
Agreed.
All right. So, what's more likely, Arkansas to not commit a turnover or to get 2 non-offensive touchdowns?
No turnover, I feel like. 2 non-offensive touchdowns is tough. Now, A&M literally did it to Arkansas last year. And there's been, we talked about it yesterday, there's been a lot of non-offensive touchdowns in this series lately. But I still think Arkansas, they turned the ball over a good bit. I think they've turned it over in every game except for the first one, right? I could see them just being ultra conservative and, maybe not being as high-powered as they've been lately, but maybe less stupid stuff. I could see the no turnover.
I think I like what you said about conservative. I think that's the key word. This is going to be the point in the season where they maybe simplify things or cater things a little bit better to Taylen Green. And, I would imagine his throwing attempts are going to go down, and the throws that he's going to be asked to make, aside from, the Satania plays where he has to escape and do something crazy, I think it's going to be way more advantageous for him.
I'm going to go with Arkansas getting 2 offensive touchdowns because of the craziness of this game. I think that maybe they can reverse course a little bit. I still think Satania is going to get a punt return for a touchdown this year. I think it's going to happen. And
I hope so.
I think it would be in this one. And then I could also see, because again, it would be at the beginning too. A&M throws a pick, and it's a pick 6 right there, on their side of the field, whatever. I could totally see it happening. So, but I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be obnoxious if it ends up being Hudson Clark getting the pick 6. You're just.
Our boy Blake here just said Hudson Clark multi-touchdown game. I'm surprised your brain didn't go there first.
Well, even I have limits when it comes to my fandom of the no-fly zone, but still, that would be huge. So this game is always crazy and close. So how about this? What's more likely, Arkansas blows out Texas A&M, or Texas A&M blows out Arkansas?
Texas A&M blows out Arkansas.
Okay, why is that?
Just because I've said the opposite in every other game this year.
We really have said that. We said that about Oklahoma State, where we're if one team's getting blown out, it ain't Arkansas. Felt that way about Auburn, and I feel like we were right on both counts. But I think I agree with Curtis, only because the 2 strongest areas of their team are defensive line and offensive line. And that's when you win both of those, you typically can blow teams out. Not to say that Arkansas can't blow A&M out. I absolutely think they can. I think they can rattle Marcel Reed. It wouldn't be stunning to me if Arkansas won this game by double digits. I'm not projecting that to happen. I'm just go ahead and playing both sides of the coin. I think Arkansas could blow A&M out. I think they could blow out a lot of teams, but I think A&M is more likely to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Man,
they just have a lot of athletes, man. A lot of talent, a lot of athletes, really good on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I don't think they're a team that is going to get blown out by really anybody, frankly. I don't think A&M is going to get blown out by Bama. Maybe Georgia blows them out or whatever. I don't know who they play, but I don't think A&M is built to really get blown out.
No, I get that element, but then there's still just when Arkansas, I'm hoping one time we get to see them play their A game. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping at one point in time this year, they play their A game. And if they play their A game, I think they could easily blow out Texas A&M if they played their A game. But until we see it, it's hard to predict. But I'm kind of with y'all as far as Texas A&M doing it, just because of the circumstances and how Arkansas is Arkansas, and they always will be. They're going to make it weird and interesting and close with everybody, no matter what. Even if they are significantly better, no matter what, they're going to be close against them. And I think it's, and when I say blowout, by the way, folks, it's I consider a blowout a 3-score game. If you lose by 3
points.
Yeah, 17 points or above. I feel like that'd be the case. So, but yeah, let's.
And I'll be honest, I don't think we're seeing a blowout this weekend. I think it's going to be a 1 possession, comes down to the last couple possessions type of thing.
Yeah, I could see that too, which I'm kind of hopeful that it happens that way, just for the sake of entertainment. And man, again, if Arkansas wins this game, it's going to be fun. Post game show after that.
Oh yeah.
And if they lose again in the same fashion that they always have, it'll also still be very fun here in the post game show, pot of that nature. So, but I am officially making the trip down to Arlington. I regret to inform all of you that I am, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to do it.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Godspeed, sir.
I'm going to need all of it I can get. Let's see. A few people here in the chat. Again, phone line, folks, 478-344-6623 is the number to call in. Shout out to Eric over here. Says, ended a work meeting early so I could watch my boys. Okay.
Good
As
stuff
you
right
should
there.
have. Good job.
Yeah. Like, in fact, all of you should end your work meetings and not even take your lunch and just watch us for the entire hour and a half, roughly. So, yeah, just do that every single time. But we appreciate you watching in. Some lady named Michelle said Curtis sounding real smart today.
Well, I do want to say, let's not act like this is a rare occurrence, first of all. But more importantly, happy birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Michelle.
29 for the however many year in a row.
Celebrating her something anniversary of her 29th birthday type of thing. Yeah. In there. So, yeah, we appreciate our chat moderator. She does a good job with it. And
she does.
Keeping all you clowns in line over there on the chat, because there's a lot of that going on. So, yeah, because I guess her and James just figured it out. I think you put it together that you two.
Yeah, where the hell have you been, brother? And I've heard her compliment Andrew before on here, for the record.
Has she?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Michelle's ever.
I mean, there might not be as many opportunities, but yeah, absolutely.
I haven't given her much to work with. It's a little bit tougher. Yeah.
It's usually we end the show and then she walks into this office and she's laughing about something that you said. So
that's good. That's what we like.
Yeah, well, that's Andrew's got the humor. He does have funny things to say. I don't know who this is because it didn't come through, but someone's on the phone line from the 479, so we're just gonna, we'll do it live. From 479, what's up, man?
Hey, sorry, I'm calling in on my work phone.
Dangerous.
Gotta watch you guys while working.
I like that.
Well, I was curious. A&M just said that Connor Wegman is a game time decision. Who are y'all more worried about, Wegman or the freshman?
That's tough. Probably, that's tough. Probably Reed, just because of the dual threat capability. If this was last year's Wegman before he got hurt and he was playing for Petrino, then I'd probably be, super concerned about this one. But it just does not look like a good fit for him in the first couple games they played with this new offensive scheme. Who is it? They get Colin Klein. Is that their OC?
I believe so.
Is that their OC?
I think I could be wrong about that, but I think so. But it's just been a weird fit, and maybe that's just new team, new system, and it takes a little while to settle in. He's the more talented quarterback in terms of arm talent, but Reed's been pretty good, man, through 2 games. I got to give him credit. So I'm probably a little bit more concerned about him.
It's weird that the freshman, redshirt freshman Marcel Reed, is the more safe option. Like, he seems like more of the play it safe, just gonna get the job done, not turn the ball over, do anything stupid. They'll run the ball with him and probably be a little bit more conservative. And look, I agree. Wegman looked so bad in that first game against Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's got a good defense. No real shame in that. But, man, he missed on so many throws, was making bad decisions, just looked out of it. I mean, he literally threw up in the fourth quarter. So I don't know what was going on with him. I don't know if that was just injury related or what. They said he was sick after the game. But from what I can tell, just from reading all the A&M reports and all what their fans have to say, that game against Notre Dame was not like a out of the blue thing. Like, in fall camp, it seemed like he was getting outperformed, but got the nod due to seniority. And so I think it's a really fascinating situation. Still so early, so it's really tough to tell. Wegman could totally come back and look awesome. I mean, coming into the year, he was one of the more respected quarterbacks in the conference. Like, people thought he was going to be a top 5 to 6 passer. I still think I go Reed for those reasons. I think A&M's really good on the line of scrimmage, like I've said, and I just think that he's not going to do anything stupid. And he brings a little bit of a running threat, and so he seems like the better fit, to Curtis's point.
Well, Reed is second in SEC quarterback rushing behind Taylen Green, by the way.
Well, there
and
you
he's
go.
only played 2 games.
Yeah.
Well, and also throw in the fact that I know some people in the chat, I was going to say this too, is it just shows how old I'm getting, that Bobby Petrino and his team at Arkansas in 2011 season and 2012 won the Cotton Bowl against quarterback Colin Klein at Kansas State. And now here they are again, meeting as offensive coordinators on opposite sides of the field. Just kind of a crazy thing when you put it in perspective. Back on the same field, rather. But our Bobby's 1-0 against Colin Klein. And,
Isn't it
fun fact about
World.
Colin Klein? Didn't kiss his
so
wife
weird?
until their wedding.
Really?
Yeah, when he was at the Heisman ceremony, they talked about that. They were, because I think at that point they had not been married, and they were saving themselves for marriage, but they hadn't even kissed until their wedding day.
Wow.
I
did not know that.
No, I really hope he loses.
Gives you a little bit of a insight into what they got going on over there at A&M.
Isn't it weird how like Klein leaves Kansas State and then all of a sudden that quarterback over there is terrible and that situation is a mess for them. But then he comes to Texas A&M where they had Wegman, who people were saying, hey, he might be the next big deal. And now he stinks. It's the stylistic aspect of quarterback OC relationship it's unreal. I mean, it's kind of like KJ Bryles versus Enos kind of deal. It's just, I don't know. It's weird how much that dynamic plays.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's always like if a quarterback transfers to one school from another, I never want to jump to judgment, be like, oh yeah, that guy's going to, oh, you want that guy? That guy sucks. It's like sometimes it's just about the fit, man. You know, you move on and go somewhere else. Just ask Texas Tech about that with Baker Mayfield. I mean, come on. You know, you had him there and he left. Or Kyler Murray at A&M. You had him and he left. So
dude, by the way, speaking of Kyler Murray, how weird did it feel to hear Taylen say that he grew up watching Kyler Murray? And I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it makes sense. Like they're Kyler Murray, I guess at this point is like 26 years old. But when he was like, yeah, I grew up watching Kyler Murray, I'm like, whoa.
That was
like
crazy.
Kyler Murray was a kid. Like Kyler Murray was one of the first quarterbacks that I was like older than, where I'm like, oh, this is a kid.
See, I don't know why that has happened. Maybe it's just this is the year of that where I have had comments like that made me feel old. Just something about this year. It's like talking with intern Reagan. She's never seen. She didn't see Jerry McFadden play. She did not see him play.
Just doesn't know. Yeah,
she just doesn't know. But you know, when you're that young, I guess it's true. Yeah, growing up watching Kyler Murray.
I can't believe as a 1-year-old she wasn't out there just tuning in to Jefferson Pilot to see.
Yeah, see the three Daves yelling at you from inside of Knoxville. Yeah, sad days. Kids these days won't know about Jefferson Pilot, which later became Lincoln Financial, and now it's just no longer around. But man, I feel bad, guys, because we got to talking. I was hoping we had Kingsley on the line, and he hung up. Like, I mean, he was only on for a couple minutes, so Kingsley. Man, please call back because you made a promise. I don't actually know if you promised, but
I don't know if you promised.
We promised it to ourselves that we wanted you to call. So yes, please call back because we want to hear from you.
He at least admitted he was overdue for a phone call.
He did. Yep. He did. And now, like I said, now I feel bad. But yeah, as soon as you come through though, man, we'll get you. We'll get you.
Shout out to Witty F, who just always pops into the chat with bad things to say about Tyrone Broden.
This guy, man, what did Broden do to this guy, man? Don't get it.
Show us on this doll where Broden hurt you.
Seriously. Like, I can understand. Actually, I don't understand ever doing that to any player, but having that type of feeling and aggression towards like the third, fourth wide receiver is just really, really weird. Camel Hawk says, what do y'all think the odds are that Wegman transfers here to follow Bobby?
I would imagine not very high, simply because they only spent a few months together. And two, the important thing to notice about Connor Wegman is heavy black scent. Have y'all heard him talk before? He really, really hams it up and has a heavy black scent.
Okay.
All right.
And I don't think Petrino's into that.
All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most here on the show. And oh man, a great transition there. But we talked a lot about with football and everything. And something that Curtis, you were talking about, wanted to bring up is the guy that knows it all, Joey Brackets, Joe Lenardi, with his bracketology, because a lot's changed probably since the last time he's done it, but pretty wild behavior that was going on with him in some of the picks that he had. I did see he moved Arkansas up, though, a little bit.
He did move Arkansas up and nothing happened. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, he moved them up to a 4 seed, which whatever, they haven't played any games yet, but it is a little bit unnerving. If you think about Calipari and then you got him facing a 13 seed and UC Irvine, Grand Canyon's in that bracket. So you're like, Jesus, man, like if this round of 64 business happens again, it'd be nuts. But 17 of Arkansas's 31 games on the schedule are against teams that are projected to be in his NCAA tournament. That's absolutely nuts, man. Like all 4 of those marquee matchups in the non-conference fit into that equation. So I think Baylor was a 3, and between Michigan, Illinois, and who the hell else do they play? Miami. They were 7, 8, 9 seeds. And then the SEC has 10 teams in, and obviously Arkansas is one of them, but just absolutely nuts. And then I was giving them crap for like the home schedules, it's weak or whatever in the non-conference, and it is, but they've got Troy and Oakland, which I'm sure Cal will be excited about that, and Lipscomb are all projected to win their league and be in the tournament as well. So it's freaking crazy, because I heard him make a comment, Cal, not too long ago, that I wonder if I overscheduled a little bit for year 1. And I was thinking, I don't know, man, like it's tough, but it's not crazy. But looking at that, it's kind of a bear.
Is Arkansas going to be one of those teams that's like has 7 losses, but they're like number 2 BPI because it's like just doesn't matter?
They might be.
What it reminds me of that year. What year was it, Curtis? Was it the 2021 season where like every non-conference team Arkansas played won their conference? Or maybe it was the year at, maybe it was 21, 22, but where they had like North Texas, Abilene Christian, there was another one in there somewhere, but they had like 4 teams that they played in non-con that like won their conference. I wonder if it's going to end up being one of those. But I feel like every year when we do this, when you look on paper and you're like, oh, wow, this one's loaded, that's when it ends up being a random stinker.
Was it the years like Northern Iowa, I think, was one of those teams too, maybe?
I would imagine, because they were always in the tournament or
Yeah, it was something like that. It was something like that. But I mean, I didn't.
Oral Roberts was the other one, by the way. They played Oral Roberts in the regular season, and then they ended up being a tournament team.
Yeah, no, yeah. But that's the thing about those schedules is so many people get wrapped up in like what the names look like and where they're, a lot of them are really good teams. Those are the teams that upset those good teams in the NCAA tournament too. So, but yeah, I was looking at it and seeing. I'll admit, I don't. Maybe I'm wrong in here, but I feel like Ole Miss is needs to be higher than a 9 seed. There's just something about him that I'm kind of scared about him with Chris Beard. Dude just knows how to coach.
Yeah.
He just knows what he's doing.
A good coach, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so got that. And also I saw this story, which, Frank Ragnow, former Razorback, he's a guy's guy. He likes to play football. But apparently, according to Lions head coach Dan Campbell, apparently Frank Ragnow has a torn pectoral, which I don't know. Maybe you can speak more on this, Curtis, but I hear it's one of the most painful injuries you can have as far as a football player.
Who is that?
Frank Ragnow.
Frank Ragnow. Okay, I didn't hear you said it first. Yeah, that stinks, man. And that's not a lot of fun, especially depending on how it happens. Was that an in-game
Believe
injury?
so. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's not good. His entire breast is just going to be black and blue and purple for a long time. It stinks, man. And that, like, the pec is like, it's your chest muscle for anybody wondering, but it's responsible for so many movements of your arm and shoulder. That's brutal, dude.
Yeah. Well, the extra thing about it is that he wants to play through it. And Dan Campbell has said, we're going to do what's best for him and what's in the moment. But apparently, Dan Campbell went on to say about Frank Ragnow, says he's hard-headed Frank. He's tough. He's stubborn. So he wants to go, and he's always going to want to go, but we have to monitor the situation. So this dude's out here trying to play with a torn pectoral.
That's probably not going to go well for him. Think about like doing a bench press. Like that's how you exercise your pecs, and then think about what you have to do as a lineman. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how well it's going to go.
No.
Dude, Frank played through some type of crazy injury a few years ago. I don't know if it was like a broken ankle or like something weird where like he played for a while before they were like, yo, this is a bad injury. So, I mean, it's kind of his bit at this point. It'll be interesting to see how he plays if he does try and play through it.
He was from Minnesota, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Grizzly Man Outdoors.
That's right.
Used to have that Instagram account.
That's right. Yeah. And I just remember, and this is like not to be morbid about, but I just remember how like it was kind of showed, not his physical toughness, but his mental toughness too, because it was so sad that in the middle of the year he lost his dad. I remember when at Arkansas he lost his dad, and it was a really sudden thing. And he was like during the Alabama week, and that same week, of course, he was very, very close to his dad, very close to his family. Went up there and came back and played in the Alabama game. Arkansas lost big, but I remember how cool it was. Nick Saban like went and found him after the game on the field, like ran over before anybody and was like telling him about like how inspirational he was. So yeah, he's just a tough dude, man. Tough dude all around. And that's a big time from him. All right, so that'll do it for your Arkansas update presented by Davison Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. I have a video and I need to upload it because I didn't, and I'm going to do that right now. But it has to do with coaches who like to throw shade a little bit, and this is just something that's funny. Brett Bielema was good at that, Brett Bielema was always pretty good at just throwing little shots around, and they're playing Penn State, and he is very anti-Penn State, it sounds like. He's saying Nebraska is a tougher place to play than it is at Happy Valley. And he was asked about the atmosphere and what will be happening at Penn State and Happy Valley, and Brett Bielema answers here.
I don't know if they're going to be in blue and white or whatever they're going to be in this weekend. They're going to be dressed right, and it's probably going to be one or the other. I know they're calling for a whiteout energy, whatever the hell that means.
He said they're going to be dressed.
Yep.
Good to know.
They're going to be dressed.
Yep. And then he says, they're calling it whiteout energy, whatever the hell that means. And it's just like, man. Like he is the best at just, I don't understand it. Like he's the same, and you appreciate when people take shots, but I don't know. Maybe it's the way he says it, because he said so quick, and like, I don't know. It's just very strange how he always has done this, and he's doing it again.
I hope they go win.
Yeah, Bielema is just. Is Bielema a good coach? Like I think he is.
He's a good coach, but it's like all about context. You know what I mean? He's in the right conference, the right situation. Because before he was in the SEC, he had a great run at Wisconsin there. So like, I think he's a good coach, but I think there's levels to it a little bit.
It has to be. By the way, I apologize, Ice Cold Mint Julep. Just moved Crasher's sponsored comment here. We appreciate you. It says, Has got hurt at Jerry World last year. It's true. Why not rise from the flames there? Would be a good story. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Tell his quarterback and offensive coordinator that. I'd be all for it.
Because I actually, guys, to be honest, I missed the play because I was walking into the stadium. I was a little late. I missed the play when he got hurt. Then he just fell really awkwardly, right? When that kind of what happened.
And it deflated the whole game. Honestly, I don't know. Like I did not feel good about that game from that point on, and it was just kind of nasty, honestly.
Yeah. I always think about it when it comes to sports. Anytime like a bad thing happens to one of my teams, I always think, well, it's going to be worth it when they do good in the future, when they eventually get over that hump or whatever. This weekend, I'm going to be thinking about all of the losses Arkansas has taken in Arlington, the weird nail biters, the missed field goals, the interceptions, the whatever, and all of that's going to come. So Razorback fans, I want you to take the Luke Has memory, the other, I'm trying to think. There was the Dan Skipper penalty that called back the thing. All the horrible plays, the KJ Superman. It's all going to be worth it because Arkansas will get a win this weekend.
Well, I was thinking about what was the stupidest thing that ever happened in this series, and I think from all of them, I really think the KJ diving in from the 5 or 6 yard line may have been the stupidest thing of all. Like, there's been a lot of them. But that had to be. It's
the stupidest, and it had the biggest impacts. I mean, we talked about it the other day. I mean, they were number 8 in the country, undefeated, like on track for a really good season until that point.
And then they're going to be up 21-0, which I'm pretty sure A&M won like 20. Was it like 26 to 21 or something?
I think it was 23-21.
That's right, 23-21.
Would have, yeah.
That's right. So yeah, you're talking about a massive game in that. But yeah, that would have been rough to do. And on a final note, apparently Jerry Jones does not recall talking about the size of any appendages of his players for the Dallas Cowboys on Jamie Foxx's video. He was asked about it. He's like, I do not recall that. I do not recall saying anything like that.
I never went back and watched the video.
What's around there?
He said it. So
saying like
y'all
it
are
is
disputing his report.
Yes, it is 100% there. He absolutely said it, but he doesn't recall it. You know, he may have said it in passing or whatever, but he does not recall it. So, well, that'll wrap it up for us, guys. Any final thoughts before we close up shop here?
Nah.
All right.
Good.
Good deal.
Nothing crazy. I did actually want to say something about the Brett Bielema thing real quick. It's not a big thing, but I just wanted to say I hope that he doesn't have that mentality when he's talking to his team. Because, I mean, those wideouts at Penn State are crazy. Like that atmosphere is one of the top ones in the country. Like if he's actually trying to downplay it, which I'm sure he was just kind of throwing some shade there, but if he's talking to his team, he needs to make sure they're prepared. Because if they're not, they're going to get absolutely boat raced. Like they're going to get overwhelmed by that.
It was another context clip too, by the way, because somebody else, like an Illinois beat writer, immediately responded to one of those posts and posted the entire clip where he was getting emotional talking about Joe Paterno and everything else. So like he said what he said, but it wasn't full on crapping on those guys still though.
Gotcha. I just thought it was
you know what clips put on the bulletin board for sure.
Yeah. Especially when like the fans are getting psyched up. Like it's not not like they weren't gonna have a good atmosphere before, but I just hope that like to his team, he is preparing them for like, hey, this is about to be one of the craziest atmospheres you ever play in. Because again, like what coaches say publicly really doesn't mean anything. As long as you're going to your team, like you can downplay the opponent publicly, but to your team, you better go there and be like, hey, guys, it's about to be loud. Y'all aren't about to be able to hear anything. You freshmen are going to be peeing your pants. Barry Lenny, be ready to dial it up.
All right, we'll end this on this too. First off, Pooh Pair to Plug says, always love when Inside Arkansas goes live. Makes me feel good while day drinking every day. Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
So we're here for. We're here for all you day drinkers out there. And shout out to Kingsley. Says, I hate I missed y'all today and pray for me on the interview. Good luck.
Got this.
But he says, but I'll try to get in on Thursday's simulation. Great show as usual.
We'll
Thanks,
allow
Kingsley.
it this one time.
Yes. Yeah. Don't ever let it happen again. But we appreciate you, Kingsley. Appreciate all of you listening in, watching in. All of our fans out there for Inside Arkansas, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel here at Inside Arkansas and follow us on social media, Inside Arkansas, and also check out our website at InsideArkansas.com for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information when it comes to all things Razorbacks. And we're going to keep it going from there. So for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. And we will see you then at Alumni Hall tomorrow at noon.